Coming up next, I'll tell you 3 ways that you can keep advancing even in this economic uncertainty. And later, I'll show you what you can do if you were laid off. We'll take your calls and your chats right now. Coming to you live from Ramsey Studios in Nashville. I'm looking out the windows, and I got to tell you, nobody's out there. Feels a little lonely, a little dark, a little gray. But you still joined a conversation about who you are, what you were created to do, where you want to do it, and how you can get there. And we're going to keep bringing you this conversation because nothing has changed as it relates to your purpose and what you were created to do. So, let's dive right in. Great article that I read recently from Forbes magazine. Courtney Whitehead gets the shout out. 3 specific ways she recommends that you can continue advancing in this downtime. And I love this because I've been saying this day in and day out. The downtime is when you get ready for the go time. Now, downtime could be you're working from home, you still have your job, and yet you've got a whole lot more time on your hands because you're not socializing. And you're not going out for lunch. You're not having as many meetings, whatever that is. Maybe some of you have been laid off and you filed for unemployment. You're just going to weather the storm. Whatever your situation is, we're all in some form or fashion in a completely different routine, and there's a little bit more downtime. And so do we just kind of watch a bunch of Netflix and eat more? Or do we say, hey, this is the time for me to make some progress? So this is great. Just going to walk through these really quick. Great tips from Courtney here. And I'll expand on them a little bit, and then we get to your phone calls. 844-747-2577 is the number. First is lean into your chaos. Right now is a great opportunity for you to embrace the chaos, is the point that she makes. And she's absolutely right. So how do you embrace the chaos? Well, certain companies, certain teams are having to step up more. Maybe they're having to work longer hours. Maybe they have to come up with some solutions, some new revenue ideas that they didn't have prior to. How can you step into that chaos and lend your time, lend your talents, lend your support? If you could be stable and calm and super valuable during this time, you may even get furloughed. We'll discuss that later in the program. But even if you do, the bottom line is you've made yourself more valuable, because we're all dealing with this right now, and there's certain things that are out of our control, but you can't control being more valuable. Second, fill social gaps with passion projects. This idea of someday and one day, well, now that day is here. And if there was a side hustle that you've been dreaming about, something that you deeply wanted to put out there, whether it be more creatively, but again, eventually business for you. So if that's music, art, the written word, the spoken word, now's the time. Get real serious about putting something out there and show your work. And finally, make sure you take care of your connections. You may not be able to hang out and do coffee or do lunch right now, but you can text, you can email, you can call somebody, you can do a video call. And don't just do I'm going to write 50 emails today and it's all the same template. I'm just going to reach out and touch somebody. No. Actually connect. The individual messages, the custom messages may take longer, but it will yield greater results. So make sure that you realize that you can advance, even if you don't see the day-to-day incremental advancing. The things that we just discussed will set you up for advancement as things return to normal. Don't waste this downtime. Be ready for go time. 844-747-2577. 844-747-2577. Later in the program, just wrote an article, just released it at kencoleman.com. I'm going to teach through it a little bit, some things you can do if you're laid off, if you've been laid off. What can you do? And so we're going to walk you through some of that, the full article at kencoleman.com. We'll get to your questions in the chat room. make them straightforward. By the way, if you're watching, thank you so much. Our numbers are going up right now. A lot of that has to do with people that are at home. The other thing is that people are saying, hey, Ken, I need some hope. I need some help. And that's what we're doing. Hope and help every day here on the Ken Coleman Show. So would you help us? Give us a thumbs up right there below the video window, right below me. Give us a thumbs up. That is a wonderful measurement that YouTube pays attention to. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and then share today's episode or a recent episode or even one of our clips. That will help us grow and spread the good news and, more importantly, help people get clear, get qualified, get connected, get started, get promoted, get the dream job so that you can work with tremendous meaning and give yourself away. You were created to fill a unique role. You are needed. You must do it. Somebody out there needs you to be you. The coronavirus will come and it will go, but one thing will remain the same. You were created on purpose. And a huge contribution to this world can be made through your work. 3 indicators here on the Ken Coleman Show that we help you get clarity on. Number 1, what you do best. Abilities and qualities. Meaning hard skills, soft skills. What you love to do most. Work that, when you think about it, makes your heart beat faster. High levels of emotion. When you're in the middle of it, oh, you feel the juice. And then high levels of devotion. You don't want to stop this work. Time seems to disappear. 3rd, results that matter most. Is it people? A certain people group you most want to help? Is there a certain problem that fires your soul? You want to solve that problem? Is there a solution to a problem? You get excited about creating that product, that service that is the solution. Those are the indicators. You use what you do best to do what you love to do most to produce a result that matters deeply to you. That's the sweet spot. That's when you're operating in a state of flow. It's there for you. I promise. Let's go. 844-747-2577. Let's go to Gene in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Gene, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Gene, I'm still living the dream, man. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. How can I help?
Well, I went to school for mechanical engineering, graduated last May, and since then I've been working as an industrial engineer, but it's not quite what I wanted to do. I took your quiz, and the results I got was that I was in the right place but the wrong position. Well, shortly after that, a mechanical engineering position actually opened up. I applied, I interviewed, and I was told that I was selected, that the formal approval process just needed to happen for my transfer. Well, during that process happening, the coronavirus came around, the economy took a dive, and they froze the hiring for the position. So now I'm feeling a little bit stuck, and I'm kind of unsure where to go to next, reaching out or looking out past the company for somewhere.
You're currently in the industrial engineering job still, correct? You still have that job?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to help you on this one. I don't think that you're stuck. I don't. You know, a stuck person isn't clear. You're very clear on what you want to do. And a stuck person isn't, qualified. You're qualified. And a stuck person isn't connected. You're already connected. You got the gig. I mean, it could go away, but it also could very, very much be sitting there once we kind of come out of this thing in a month or 2 or 3, and you've already gone through the process of getting approved. And so now it's just a formality. So I don't think you're stuck. I think you're just sitting in a situation that the rest of us are in some form or fashion. And it's just, okay, this is weird, right? There's just no timeline on this deal.
No timeline.
So I think the good news is you're stable in your current gig. If, let's say, this company decides to not formally offer you this once we get back to normal, you still have all of the clarity that you need. You still have the qualifications, and you're connected, and you just go somewhere else. You look for that mechanical engineering job somewhere else. So all that to say, it's not like you're sitting there in career limbo. You're just in job limbo. Do you see the difference? You know what you want to do, why you want to do it, how to get in it. So I would say if you want to, keep looking for other, I have no problem with you staying active and looking for mechanical engineering jobs that might be hiring right now. And if they're not freezing jobs, take it. If it's a good culture, go for it. You don't have to wait on this other company, but at the same time, if you have to wait, I don't think you're stuck. You just got to be patient. That's my take on it.
Gotcha.
How's that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you tracking with me?
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. I was kind of thinking along the same lines.
Yeah. I mean, hey, this thing happened. You can't control that. So if you want to keep looking for something else, go for it. No harm in that at all. But keep your head down on doing a great job now, taking care of what you can take care of, and then let's just see where this thing goes. 844-747-2577, 844-747-2577. Let's go to Mark next, who joins us in West Palm Beach, Florida. Mark, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm living the dream, Mark. What's going on?
Well, I'm not living the dream, which I guess is one of the main reasons why I'm calling.
Sure.
I've been struggling to find stable work, honestly, to put it short. And especially with the coronavirus, it's been kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I've had a lot of work experience. I'm just on an entry-level basis here.
Yeah.
I don't have any college degrees or anything like that. There's some fields that I like better. I like sales, like inside sales, where I'm, providing information on a product that I believe in and that I can provide to the customers, mm-hmm. and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to get in on this job right before the coronavirus, but they had froze.
What job?
And so,
what job was it?
I was an appointment setting job for Accurate dealership here in West Palm, where I would call people that requested information on Accurate cars and seeing if they could want to get in on.
Gotcha. How old are you, Mark?
I just turned 26 last month.
All right. Are you single, married, relationship status? What's the deal?
Well, I'm single, and I live by myself.
Okay. What do you do? Do you have a job right now, or are you out of a job?
I have a job. It's not very stable at all. It's just not really working.
What is it?
I do Google business listings for a company that started maybe a few months ago, and I'm decently good at it. But the coronavirus makes it really slow. And when I've been on the phone with people recently, they're saying that they just can't get in on the opportunity because things have just been tight.
Yeah, no, I get that. All right, so it's just you. How much money do you need to make to take care of your basic four walls? Your rent, utilities, food, and transportation.
And that's the thing. My expenses are extremely low. My highest bill per month is my rent, which is, believe it or not, it's $400 a month.
Okay, great. So here's the deal. So your mindset right now is, it doesn't seem like you're in any kind of stressful situation, but your mindset is right now, I'm just going to do whatever it takes. So if this current gig goes away, you're a guy at 26, single, low expenses in West Palm, or, within an hour radius, if you had to, you could be stocking shelves, to driving delivery, just anything to keep bringing in income. So, but you're in a good situation right now. So the issue is, what do you really want to do? What do you really want to do with your life? Because I think that's what I don't know if that's why you called, but that's what we ought to be discussing.
No. Okay, let me discuss that with you right now then, because I know what my end game is.
What is that?
What I want to do for a living in a perfect world is I want to be a YouTube star where I'm an aspiring singer and rapper and make all ton of other videos that spark ideas with me. I think that's a great opportunity.
Okay.
I get to work from home and freelance, and that makes things fun. Okay, so what were we going to say?
No, I'm just listening. So how can I help you?
So what I need to do in the meantime is, in the midst of what do I need to do now during the virus to get myself in a more, to at least survive off the coronavirus, but then afterwards, what should I do in order to start actually having some money left over at the end of the month so I can start putting money away,
Yeah.
pay off all my debt, and
How much debt do you
start
have?
putting. Overall about $13,000 just between all the debt.
What is that made of? $13,000 in debt for what? A car? Credit cards?
I have a couple. I have 2 credit cards. I have my car debt. I have.
How much on the car?
I owe about $6,000.
Okay. How much is the car worth?
The car is worth about I think right now on KBB maybe it's about $4,000 or $5,000.
Okay, so you're upside down in that thing. So you need to pay that thing off quick. And
Yeah.
26-year-old guy who has very low expenses. The answer to your question is you work 2 or 3 jobs during this coronavirus. I mean, again, you're 26. Yeah. So again, if you're delivering pizzas, pizza companies are hiring like crazy. If you're working for some type of grocery company, or you could work part-time hours in pharmacies. What are the businesses that are going crazy right now? And that stuff is being reported on widely. And so right now you're doing everything it takes. You don't have a relationship. You don't need a relationship. But if you got a girlfriend, you can say, hey, babe, I'll see you next month. But right now you're going crazy to make as much money as possible. And you want to pay that debt off. $13,000 in debt is not that much for a 26-year-old guy. You can crush that. So
I know.
Well, okay, but you called and you asked me. So I'm saying that's what you do. You said, Ken, what do I do? You do as many jobs as you possibly can right now and get your financial situation in great shape. So you use Dave Ramsey's baby steps, which is the smallest debt to the largest debt. So if you got a credit card that's got $400 on it, pay it off and close it. Take the next largest debt, pay that off, get that car paid off, those credit cards gone, everything gone. And you keep working like a crazy man, and then you get that, you get the 3 to 6 months of your expenses in the bank. That shouldn't take you long. And you launch that YouTube channel and you keep going. But right now at 26, you're working as hard as you can to put as much money away as you can so that you can keep focusing on that YouTube channel. Because the key to you being a star on YouTube is A, you better have some talent. I hope you do. There's no way for me to gauge that. And 2, you need to make sure that you're putting out content every day. So get after it. 844-747-2577. We'll get back to the phones in a minute. Let's go to the chat room right now. But before we do, I want to make sure that I tell you about our new podcast called Work Matters. It is a short daily dose of the current news that I lead off with every show here on YouTube. And so we want to put this out in short form for folks so that it's easily digestible, it's current, and it gives people a good sense of what's going on in the marketplace. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure you rate it and write a review. We appreciate that so very much. It's called Work Matters with Ken Coleman. Check it out. All right, to the chat room we go. INTN14 is going back to technical school to be a machinist or welder, a step backwards if you're already a physical therapist. No. I don't know why it would be a step backwards. Now, again, we're in the chat room, so I'm having to assume some things. But if you want to be a machinist or a welder, and I'm assuming that's why you would go to the school for it, is that you want to do that, then that's not a step backwards. That's a step forward in doing what you really want to do. And that's the assumption I have to make here, because those are very different things. Physical therapy and being a machinist or welder are very, very different. So again, if you've always wanted to be a machinist and you love welding, working with your hands, and you know you can make really good money at that, that's a step forward. Even if it feels like, well, I'm making this amount of money as a physical therapist. Well, listen, stay in the physical therapist job. Keep making that money. And you're going to go to school on the side. You're going to get that. Hopefully you can do both at the same time. You ought to go about it that way. And then you get that education, that qualification, all right? And so now you're done with stage 2, which is get qualified. While you're getting qualified, get connected. That's stage 3. And then you're going to be ready for stage 4, which is to get started as a machinist and a welder. So, no, I don't think it's a step backward at all. Jersey Wolf writes in, I'm on a commission-based pay with reduced hours currently. Is there a good chance of my hours returning to normal soon? How do I decide if it's worth picking up part-time work in the short term? Okay, so this is a question with your leader here, and you need to be very prepared that your leader doesn't have a good answer. Because, again, there's so many extenuating circumstances right now with this virus and how governors and the president and all these health professionals and the timelines they're throwing out, and it affects so much that these folks cannot possibly predict very well. So I would ask them, hey, what are the indicators that you all need to see that would make you feel comfortable about my hours returning to normal? Like, that's a question you can ask and try to get a ballpark and say, hey, will you stay in communication with me? But obviously I'm going to have to do what I got to do, and people understand that. I think deciding if it's worth picking up part-time in the short term comes down to your budget and your lifestyle and what's going on there. And so you're looking at two things. What can I sacrifice? What can I cut? And then what can I do to bring in more? What can I cut? And what can I do to bring in more money? And it's a combination right now just to survive this crazy little downturn. And then we're going to see how the economy shakes out. I'm a believer that it's going to be better, way better, but I don't know how soon it's going to be way better. And that's what nobody knows. And we don't know the fallout yet because this thing is a ripple effect. So clearly communicate with your leader. Give them the opportunity to clearly communicate with you. Try to set that up. But you've got to make the decision. And I would tell you, when you can't pay for the basics, you better get busy. Let's go one more here. Katie Petersheim writes in, as a single provider being self-employed as a contractor, I am shut down. What can we do to keep income coming in? Well, self-employed contractor, we're shut down, then you got to find something else to do. Or you got to find somebody else who needs what you need. You know, what are the companies that are still open? Do they need what you need? It's a scary season right now in this particular situation, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But again, I'm going to go from long-term thinking to short-term thinking. Your business may be shut down right now, but it can come right back when the need, the problem that you solve becomes a higher priority. Right now, we're doing whatever. You're the single provider. So what's the other person doing? Can they do something part-time? Can they work from home? There's a lot of work from home business and opportunities. Get online and see what's out there. Dig, and connect right now. You're telling everybody, hey, here's my reality. Don't be ashamed of that. In fact, I'm going to cover that right now. In fact, let's go into that. What a good segue. Katie, I've got an article for you at kencoleman.com. It's entitled, What to Do If You're Laid Off During COVID-19. Now, again, this thing is a robust article. I'm really proud of it. So, Katie, I want you to go to kencoleman.com and download that right now. Just click on articles, and it's there at the top. But let's first discuss something that I'm getting this question a lot on social media and email. Is being furloughed the same as being laid off? Okay, that's one of the things we cover in the article. Furlough refers to, it's an extended leave of absence. Certainly in this situation now, it's very relevant. But the expectation is, hey, we're furloughing you now, but we're going to bring you back when things return to sense of normalcy. So there is a difference there. Laid off is, hey, you're gone. We can't. We might be able to hire you, but there's no guarantees. Furloughed is, the plan is to rehire you. And you're seeing a lot of hotels do that right now. What do you do after being laid off? The first thing, and again, I talk about this in the article, so I'm just going to do some high-level teaching here. Number one, you got to deal with the emotions. You have to acknowledge that you're scared or that you're angry or maybe both. Okay? And take a little bit of time, whether that's an hour or a day, or if you can, a week, whatever. You've got to get some perspective. You've got to deal with those emotions, because an angry person and a scared person is not thinking clearly. And you've got to get perspective. There's a link in the article on how to get perspective. So we got more stuff here. Make sure you connect with your friends and family right now. Say, hey, here's my reality. Don't be ashamed. This crisis is affecting everybody. No one's going to think poorly of you if you've gotten laid off because of this deal. I tell everybody on social media, I wouldn't gripe. I wouldn't throw your leader or your company under the bus. I would just say, hey, here's my reality. I'm looking for anything. I'll do anything. No work is beneath me right now. Let everybody know. Tighten up the budget. Again, I just mentioned this earlier to Jersey Wolf. In this situation, we're looking for two things. What can we cut? What can we call certain vendors and companies that you owe money to or whatever, your credit cards. Hopefully you don't have credit cards, or some of you do. That's reality. Call them and go, hey, this is my reality right now. Can we come up with a payment plan? We know from this new legislation that mortgage companies are allowing you to take your current mortgage payments and furlough those, if you will, put them on the back end of your mortgage. That's a massive relief. Don't be ashamed of that stuff. Get in there and call people. This is a global crisis. It's not isolated to you. Ask for some help there. Speaking of help, the free 14-day trial of Financial Peace University is at daveramsey.com/hope. You can also get the Every Dollar Plus budgeting app. These things are super helpful right now for you to be able to say, hey, we're changing our budget. If you do get laid off, look up the Employee Benefits Security Administration. Ask your employer, what benefits do I still have? What are my options? That's helpful. And then we go into how to search for a job after being laid off. I'm not going to break this whole thing down, but it's in the article. I tell you exactly where to look, how to look, and walk you through it step by step. So this is a great article. You can go get it right now. It's absolutely free. All the articles are. What to do if you're laid off during COVID-19. Go to kencoleman.com right now and do that and download it and read it and be encouraged. Be encouraged. By the way, a quick thing here. I'm excited about this. On Friday night, I've got another message of hope. Going to extend what Dave Ramsey, Rachel Cruz, and I did last week, last Thursday night. And all the Ramsey's personalities are doing a message of hope, bringing them to you throughout this week, and then one on Monday of next week with Anthony O'Neill. And you'll see that in my social feed, promoting all these messages just to encourage you and then give you something to send to other people. And so I'm going to be coming to you on Friday night, and stay tuned for details at my social media channels, I should say, at Ken Coleman on Instagram, Ken Coleman Show on Facebook, at Ken Coleman on Twitter, and going to be bringing you an extended message on what you should be focusing on, how to focus on it, and then what to do. But what is the framework for perspective in a time of craziness and when it's easy to panic? I'm going to talk through that and give you a real framework so that you can do what you need to do in these days ahead. Remember, this mindset right now is do what you have to do so that you can do what you want to do. We may have to pause in the long term and focus on the short term, and that's okay. In fact, that may be the best thing you can do, because when you're focused, intensity on the short term, then your mind is in a much healthier place instead of focusing on all the things in the short term and the long term that you have no control over. That can drive a person absolutely batty very quickly. 844-747-2577. 844-747-2577. Let's go to Rosa, who is joining us in New York City. Rosa, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
I am living the dream. What's going on with you?
So I recently got fired from my job that I started 2 months ago. And the reason for it was my own stupidity. Within a few weeks of being there, I noticed it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I hated it. Mm-hmm. So in results, I started slacking off at the job. Mm-hmm. And it went worse once we started working from home. So, but yeah, now I'm just trying to figure out what to do next and how to go about in searching for new jobs. How do I present? Oh, I was at this job for 2 months and then I got fired.
Yeah. Well, in this day and age, I mean, well, it's not just this day and age, but I mean, people can do research on you, and a good company should, right? And so they should probably call this company and say, hey, what's going on? How stupid was it? Without embarrassing you, and I'm not trying to humiliate you, but I want to get an idea of, you've been very tough on yourself here, and I appreciate that, actually, but we want to move on. But I mean, how stupid, if they call and talk to your former company, what are they going to hear?
I wasn't putting in the hours I should have been. I think the biggest thing was the hours, honestly. They were very strict and rigid on the hours.
Yeah.
And it was a little something that I wasn't used to, because my previous company, they were a little more relaxed on it. As long as the work was done, it was fine.
Right. So could you say honestly that you did get the work done? It's just that you came from a different environment where it was more about the performance and not punching the clock, and you had formed those habits and you didn't wake up soon enough. Could you say that?
Yeah, I think it was more when we were physically working in the office, it was more the hours. That was the issue. And then once we started working from home, I stupidly, like I said, I kind of set my own hours for the day when they were expecting us to be online. So I said, like, from X to Y.
But you still got the job done? Did you still get the job done?
Yeah, most of it. At the end of the last few days, there was like some of it was like done later in the night instead of during the day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so then here's what you have to do. You have to focus on moving forward. And I get this call a good bit, and so I want everybody to be honest, but at the same time, you don't have to walk in and going, hey, listen, I was really stupid in my last job, right? Because then that puts you in a really ugly situation potentially. What you want to focus on going forward is, excuse me 1 second, I got to get a sip of water. The allergies are awful here, folks. Now the pollen that was coating my car yesterday has now been mixed up by a deluge of rain, and it's a pollen slushy outside, Rosa, so I apologize. My voice just went away on me. Okay, so here's what you have to do. You really got to use your web of connections, and I'm going to give you my best-selling book, The Proximity Principle. Do you have the book?
No.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Okay,
Awesome.
And here's the deal. I want you to read the entire book, but there's a chapter in the back section focusing on the practices once you know who the right people are and where the right places are. I'm going to walk you through all of that. There's a chapter on the web of connections, and in this situation, you're going to have to really leverage your web of connections to where you get so emphatically recommended through a mutual relationship. So let's just say company XYZ that you apply for. You do the online application, but you have a friend of a friend of a friend, or there's some relationship. There's some connection between you, Rosa, and somebody in that company XYZ. And as a result, you fill out the application online, but they also take your resume into the hiring manager and say, hey, let me tell you about Rosa and how I know about her. I either know her directly or we have a mutual connection, and Rosa's a rock star. She's coming from a company. It just was not something that she wanted to do. She thought it was, and she realized it's not the work she loves. This company is. This job is in her sweet spot. It's great. She's a rock star, and I think we ought to interview her. When it's done that way, and by the way, Rosa, that's how it should be done for everybody, not just you. But when you do it that way, we are essentially removing most of the risk of them calling and talking to your former employer. And if they do, you're going to say, you know what? Here's the reality. I got the job done, but I did come from a different environment where it was kind of you set your own schedule because we trust you and you do a great job. And I came into this new environment. It was totally different. And I didn't perceive the situation well. I was doing the job, but it wasn't something that I loved, and I let that affect me. And that's why I'm here, because I now know that if I'm doing work I love, I'm a machine. And I think that's the way you couch it. The job before this last one, did you have good performance measures and good marks?
Yeah, I had been at the other one for 4 years. My superior. He completely trusted me, kind of just gave me the assignment to let me run with it, and never.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do you know what? Why would you even put this last 2-month job even on the resume at this point? I wouldn't even put it on there.
Okay. That was something I was going to ask you too.
Yeah, sometimes I actually give advice and then I realize, hey, I forgot to say this. And this is what, it's like you were there 2 months. And I don't think anybody coming out of this coronavirus is going to be hung up on a 2-month work gap. I just don't think it matters. I would not even put the last thing on your resume. Because you've learned your lesson, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Hey, stay healthy right now. You staying healthy?
Thank you. You too. Yeah.
All right, listen.
Trying to.
Listen, do not be ashamed of what happened. I think you've done a great job of being self-aware. I think you've owned it. And I think you're an awesome person because you've owned it. And I think you've learned your lesson, and I think you move forward. And you know what? I could have made that call a lot faster, but you needed to hear the advice on how you're going to get a job. Okay? You needed to hear that. I want you to hang on the line. I'm going to give you my book, The Proximity Principle. It's a #1 best-selling book. It's going to go deeper than what I just did for you, but don't put that last job on the resume. I like that. I like that a lot, Joe. It's kind of fun. I wish we could all do that when we do something that we're not proud of. Just go, you know what? I'm not going to put that on the resume. I'm not going to put that on the resume of life. That's not that easy for all of us. But in her situation, it's a 2-month job. I would just, boop, gone. They don't even know about it. Don't need to know about it. She's going to walk forward. Good stuff. Well, our time is almost up. But before I let you go, you matter and you do have what it takes. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, this is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.